I liked Phantom of the Paradise, and I love the idea of him being a New York ethnic director who was up and coming, and I had no idea who he had gone to film school with or who his buddies were. It was a different business. There wasn't any electronics. We didn't work on computers. We had open calls as far as contacting agents on the phone, telephone, which I don't think is used as largely these days either, and saying, this is what I need, who have you got, and send me 10 people for that. And I would go through 30 people a day and try to pick the best ones and have them meet with Brian and the producers. And in the end, one of the big auditions we had was set up at Brian's apartment on a Saturday morning, and we had a lot of actors show up. I remember PJ being there, some of my friends who didn't make the cut. And when I say my friends, I didn't only cast my friends. I knew a lot of actors, a lot of them were friends, still are, and everybody was new. It was a time in our lives where we had all just moved out to LA. We were just beginning, and that included Brian. Well, Sissy was somebody we were considering. Her deal had not been structured. She screen tested along with one of the other actors I mentioned earlier, Sandra Locke. And honestly, I can't remember who else. I just don't remember. I wish, again, I'd had that list. Sissy had, she was somebody that I suggested. She was already on the list. I suggested her because she had done a commercial that I cast her in New York prior to her role in Carrie, prior to her screen testing. She did not audition with the other actors. She did screen test with them. Sissy is a brilliant actor. She had quite an amazing process for that screen test. She put Vaseline on her hair so that she would look greasy and dirty-ish and not well-kempt and look like the oddball out. And she, to this day, has a very youthful quality to her. So she had this timidity that she incorporated into her character, and I almost think I remember her saying that she didn't bathe or wash her face she wore no makeup for the screen test, and she had her entire process. She is what you would call a total pro. And she hit the nail on the mark.
You too, Chris. And spit out that gum.
Where'll I put it, Miss Collins?
You can choke on it for all I care. Just get it out of your mouth.
I would have to say that Nancy Allen's role was the most difficult because she was not approved after the first screen test, and we kept looking. They just weren't sure if she could cut it. As it turned out, she was divine as an actor in that, a wonderful woman, great girl, and she proved them wrong. But there was just that, it's like the wrench that the producers and directors throw in. It's that fly in the ointment. There's just something about her that they just weren't sure she could pull off, because her character was one of the antagonists, obviously, and those are rough roles. Those are real character pieces, and there was a fear generated, I suppose, maybe by the chemistry, the connections, the technique. Maybe the producers and the director had a bad night before they looked at the screen test. I don't know. There was this fear permeating through the air that maybe we should keep looking. And we did. We kept looking. Again, that was when Brian went back to New York and looked at more and more. And I can't tell you that I honestly remember how it was that we agreed that Nancy would be wonderful. Perhaps she came back in and I just don't remember. Well, it's somebody who is playing, an antagonist with a sweet, cunning, baffling look to them, who can act, who can work with, at that time, one of the only stars, if that be the right word. Travolta was already doing Cotter, and he showed up for the screen test on his lunch break in makeup as Vinnie Barbarino. So Nancy's character was the antagonist, as I said, and she, like all the other actors, were working with great actors. So there was that fear, but she proved them wrong and went on to be a huge star on her own. In her own right.
What's up?
Can I talk to you?
Oh, right now?
Too important.
Amy, I believe, was suggested by her agent, who was Arnold Rifkin at the time, and she may have been one of the, for lack of a better word, leftover actors from the Star Wars batch.
According to my notes, they said she was originally cast as Carrie. Is that true?
No, what happened was after the screen test, there was the actors' names kind of got jumbled around, and there was a possibility of having her play Carrie and Sissy play the Amy role, the Sue Snell role. But that was something that I didn't think would be a good idea. That I not that they necessarily took that as my suggestion and ran with it. I didn't think that that Amy was right for the role of Carrie White.
Oh, Lord, help the sinning woman see the sin of her days and ways. Show her that if she had remained sinless, the curse of blood would never have come on her.
And thank you, Mike Medavoy, who at the time was the head of United Artists, and he, before that, was an agent, and he represented Piper, and he recommended and suggested that to the producers. Although we did look at other actors in the event that didn't work out. That's the way casting goes. You must have a backup list. We went to a screening of Cuckoo's Nest, and Louise Fletcher was on the list as a potential Mrs. White. I imagine that they made her an offer she couldn't refuse. I think that Mike Medavoy had a great relationship with Piper, and he also had tremendous foresight, was running the studio, brilliant man, and he, I think they saw a good thing when it came to them. I don't know that he had to twist her arm. I think it was a great idea. It was a great re-entry into film and TV.
Okay, I'll do it.
And again, casting against type, he, that hair, he had that hair that they didn't want him to touch. And it's interesting you mentioned that, because his agent was concerned that he would have to cut his hair. And I remember talking to Brian De Palma about that. He said, oh no, we want that hair. Went back, I reassured the agent, don't worry, don't have him cut a hair. Don't have him touch a hair. And he and Amy had a relationship off camera, so there was, again, chemistry before they even showed up on the set. And he's also a wonderful actor, easygoing, great guy. It just was the perfect combination.
Give me one of them beers, son.
Let's suck on this, huh?
All right.
I think the luckiest part of that was that John was and still is one of the greatest guys in show business. He was already on Welcome Back, Kotter. As I said earlier, he came to the screen test in makeup and wardrobe at his lunch break. And he was somebody that the moment he walked into the room, he got the part. He was electric, he was vital, gorgeous, the camera loves him, just really knew how to do it, and he had that innocence that Billy Nolan had, even though Billy also was one of the antagonists. He was the antagonist that you didn't hate. PJ was an actress who had done a commercial for me in New York that was very difficult to cast at that time, and I came across her picture. I was shocked that she'd made the move to LA, and I discussed it with Brian. I said, this is a girl who did a very great job for us on a commercial in New York, and it was a tough role to cast, and she pulled it off. I think we should consider her. She came in on that big casting session that Saturday morning, got the part. My thoughts when I saw the film finished was at the first cast and crew screening at MGM, and I was in shock. A lot of reasons. Of course, the end of the film is the most horrific, and I don't mean horrible, you know what I mean. It permeated horror the way nothing I've seen before, maybe short of the shower scene in Psycho did. The screams. The audience, however, laughed, which is a sign of fear, but it was shocking that they laughed. It was shocking to me to see my name on the credits because I'd never gotten screen credit before. And it was just a total shock being there and then being approached by another film director to do another film on the spot. The energy in the room was vibrant, electric. I never expected any of the films I've ever done to be hits, blockbusters. I don't think anybody goes into these things thinking, oh, this is a movie, this is going to make me, this is going to be a sleeper. I didn't have that kind of ESP as opposed to telekinetic powers, but I guess the energy was positive. The energy, there was a shift, even, and it was almost 8 or 9 months after the film had been made, or possibly a year later. So I won't say the air was sucked out from the time of the last day of shooting, but from the time that I had finished the film to the time that I saw it in that screening room, a lot of days, months had passed, and it was all brought to the surface that night with that electrical kind of shock of what the movie was, and perhaps we all knew, but were even afraid to say then, there was something there. I'm still very moved by it. It's very dear to my heart because it was my first film. The people, the relationships, I'm still friendly with Nancy. We're friends, we see each other, we hug each other. She credits me for her career, which all I did was cast her. And when the remakes came out, I had this bittersweet thing going on that, oh my God, what if this is better? Oh my God, it's that many years later, there's another one. But it's great. It's just fresh life into something that will always remain a classic.